Let's go ahead and get underway. If I can interrupt your conversations, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the lunch that we have today, and hope that my booming voice in this microphone breaks through the table conversation. Thank you so much for being here and for wanting to be present and for your attention this morning. We're going to go ahead and get underway with the lunch at this point. And I'm sorry to interrupt what is all about the Mexican-American Leadership Initiative, and that's dialogue, so I apologize for that. But incidentally, there will be a dessert reception after we finish the lunch today, and I hope you continue with the comments that you're making at your table right now. My name is Jim Polsfoot, and I'm the President and CEO of the U.S.-Mexico Foundation, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you to what seemed to go by incredibly quickly, but this is the closing event of this first annual Mexican-American Leadership Initiative conference with this luncheon. So thank you for being present last night. If you were with us at the State Department this morning for two remarkable round tables and some recognitions of organizations that are active in Mexico that are so worthy of our attention. And I'd like to start actually at this lunch with a thank you to the first to the roundtable recipients, the roundtable participants, and especially to the moderators, Maria Chiveste and Henry Cisneros. Which is my function here in terms of thank yous. I'm going to continue one more time to extend our appreciation to a few folks who have made not only the last couple of days possible, but the whole initiative a reality, and also in laying so much groundwork for the foundation itself, the U.S.-Mexico Foundation. And I'll start off with the chair of the board, Jose Antonio Fernandez, and continue with Jonathan Hamilton, Martha Smith, Jose Villarreal, Henry Cisneros, Blanca Treviño, Luis Viada, David Ayon, Maria Chiveste, Roger Wallace, and our ex officio member, the ambassador of Mexico, Arturo Sarucán. I'd like also to thank some of the staff members from the foundation who are present today, Heather Wick and Mercedes Caso, as well as a number of the organizing team of the Mali leadership, and they are Raul Rodriguez, Raul Hinojosa, and Victor Arias. If you join me in applause for those folks. And finally, the sponsors who have made it possible, both in terms of financial commitment to the work of this conference and to Mali and to the foundation itself, but also with a lot of intellectual capital and ideas and energy and enthusiasm and support and momentum, which were so important as we've pulled this together. And they are Grupo Salinas, Walmart, the Center for Civic Participation and Responsibility, and Fundamex, as well as Promethean, the Inter-American Foundation, and the Mexico Institute of the Woodrow Wilson Center. And I'd like to say, with regard to the Mexico Institute, the work in support of Andrew Seeley and Miguel Salazar especially, Dana Deaton, and also Sarah Beckhardt really made all the difference for so many of the details that have come together today. And to share a word with us about the Mexico Institute and also his role on the U.S.-Mexico Foundation board, I'd like to introduce Roger Wallace. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to make this brief because I know everybody's hungry. I just want to add my words of welcome on behalf of the U.S.-Mexico Foundation Board and the Woodrow Wilson Center. As co-chair with my dear friend Jose Antonio Fernandez, the Center's Mexico Institute, I'm pleased that the Woodrow Wilson Center could host today's meeting, and I want to welcome you all to the center. The Mexico Institute has been long committed to developing policy ideas to improve U.S.-Mexico relations and partnering with organizations that are committed to the same purpose. There are few such tangible efforts of this as important as the U.S.-Mexico Foundation, which is harnessing the commitment of civic and business leaders on both sides of the border to support meaningful change. I'm also especially pleased today that we can launch the Mexican-American Leadership Initiative. This is a really innovative, new idea, and it's driven by preeminent Mexican-American civic and business leaders to partner with the Mexican organizations that seek to improve the quality of life in their own country. Jim and I were talking earlier about synergy. I think that's one of the bywords of the day. I think you've got all of these organizations, including the Inter-American Foundation, which I'm involved with, looking at ways to strengthen civic organization and to harness the resources in this country and to translate them into a way that are effective in Mexico. And speaking of preeminent and distinguished Mexican-American businessmen, it's my pleasure to introduce a good friend of mine, Victor Arias, who is one of the founding members of the Mali Initiative, to say a few words. Victor.
The descriptor preeminent, the checks in the mail, Roger. What a great day. I mean, what does everybody think about the two panels? I mean, incredible. So. And I think the stars are aligned. I don't think we could have had this meeting 10 years ago. But this meeting, the time is now. This Mexican-American Leadership Initiative, the timing is perfect. And so I'm very proud to be a part of it. It makes a lot of sense. We have support from governmental agencies, from the foundation like U.S.-Mexico Foundation, and we have distinguished folks, all of us in this room that can contribute, that have, as Henry said, we have a heart for Mexico, but we also have our own foot here and our right to participate in this country. So I am looking very much forward to taking the, as you said, Roger, the synergy and the momentum from this meeting and taking it forward and making a real difference into how we shape what our community looks like here and our community across the border looks like, because we are one community. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming here to this luncheon, and I'd like to turn it over to two of the leaders of this whole initiative that made it possible to get everybody mobilized, including David Ayon, who I share El Paso with, and to Maria Cheveste that I share Stanford with. So to David and Maria, thank you.
Thank you again. What we're going to do now is, as we were putting this conference together, we wanted to, as you saw from the recognitions earlier, we want to provide examples of organizations, of what is going on in civil society in Mexico. And so we've decided to create the Mali Civil Society Awards to give to Mexican-based nonprofit organizations which excel at the promotion of civil society engagement. These organizations contribute to innovative social development by focusing on systemic change and measurable results in one or more of the following categories: education, youth, civic engagement, and community cohesion. So we're going to do this like the Academy Awards. Now it's David's turn.
Next year, the Academy Awards. The first recipient of this Mali Civil Society Award, and it's a recipient of a $5,000 award, goes to Fundación Infantia AC. Fundación Infantia seeks to provide at-risk youth and victims of human trafficking with expertise that will improve their employability through the Youth Career Initiative, a collaboration among international hotel chains to provide job opportunities, vocational training, and life skills. And here today, I believe, accepting the award for Fundación Infantia is Javier Martínez Cortina.
Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you very much. It's an honor for us at Fundación Infantia and a privilege to receive this award and be a participant in this initiative. We applaud and congratulate everyone that made possible the Mexican-American Foundation and the Mexican-American Leader Initiative. Normally, you cannot stop me from talking about Fundación Infantia programs and projects, mainly if it's YCI, Youth Career Initiative. But due to the schedule and the fact that English is not my first language, I'll try to be as brief as my English allows me and your hunger allows me. Youth Career Initiative is a 6-month education program aimed for disadvantaged young people and victims of trafficking in persons. These people, they're provided with life skills and work skills. The purpose is to empower youth participants to make informed career choices and realize the options available to them, enabling them to improve their employability and enhance their long-term social and economic opportunities, provided them with inclusion from a society that excluded them and denied them from opportunities just because they are young. YCID is made possible thanks to the unique partnership between the international hotel service industry, whereby participating properties provide the human, operational, and training resources to deliver the program. The initiative provides a practical platform for companies and nonprofit organizations to work collaboratively towards the Millennium Development Goals, specifically in the alleviation of poverty. Eligible candidates, typically between ages of 16 to 21, are able to make a full-time commitment to this program, are considered to be at risk of exploitation or survivors or trafficking. As anyone who has worked with young people and victims can tell you, in their determination to improve and forge their future lies the ethic capacity for excellence. The more corporations realize this, the more we can move from pockets of charity to the business of opportunity for all young people and survivors of trafficking. Thank you very much, and thanks again. No, gracias a ustedes.
Okay, aquí está.
So the second recipient with a $5,000 award goes to Juanacatlan Renace de Jalisco. Juanacatlan Renace promotes local development and community cohesion by strengthening civic participation while working in collaboration with local and state governments. Since 2007, Juanacatlan Renace has engaged the support of migrants in Chicago who, together with the University of Illinois, have helped to undertake a survey to identify and to address community needs in Juanacatlan, Jalisco. Accepting the award for Juanacatlan Renace are Sergio Suárez and Francisco Alvarado. Acá bien.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Mali for this recognition and for all the work that he's been doing. It's an honor to be here. My father came to the United States in the Bracero times, 1946. When this program ended, he ended up being an undocumented immigrant for 20 years, until 1978, that our family was reunited here in Chicago. So I'm an immigrant for 33 years, and I have an accent to prove it. As immigrants, I believe that we have adapted to our society. We have adapted to the society of residents, our community of residents, where we were raised, where I learned the values, our traditions, and our culture. And we are in debt of our community of residents that gave us the opportunity to succeed. Civil society organizations are being traditionally formed, as Martha was saying in the panel, by political parties and by religious organizations. We are changing that. We are empowering the regular people from our community and getting everybody together. The church is part of it. The mayor of our town is part of it. And all the organizations that want to join, they're welcome to do that. Let me tell you, we started a foundation 7 years ago, Necagual Foundation here in the United States, to rescue the kids abandoned in the city of Guadalajara. I didn't know what I was getting into because it's been transcending in different organizations. Right now, I'm serving as president of the Federation of Jaliscienses in the United States. and we represent 450 hometown associations. And we like for every association to have a espejo, a mirror organization in Mexico as a nonprofit organization to empower the community that everybody comes from. We've been working with government. I think I've been hearing a lot of things that is not been possible to do it. Well, we've been able to do it thanks to the collaboration of the state of Jalisco. I like to say that the governor in the state of Jalisco, he was not afraid to work with people from the United States, and empower us and helped us to do this project in Juanacatlan. We're working with a secretary of, we're working with DIF in programs. Right now, in our hometown, we have 3 professionals working in our association that we made there. We made a non-for-profit in Mexico. And we have 3 professionals working in the prevention and attention of family violence. So now we have staff, we're working, we're getting funds from DIF, 30%, we put 70%, but it helps. As I was trying to find the best approach to develop something that it will get the involvement of the community in Mexico, at one point it was overwhelming and frustrating. One day in Chicago, talking to a gentleman about the creation of the Illinois Welcoming Center in Illinois, I started telling him what we were doing in my hometown. He was very interested and started capturing the idea and started creating a methodology that I found out later that he was from Juanacatlan too, and that he had not been in Mexico for 20 years. That changed. In the last year and a half, he's been there 6 times. And so this, the whole community got together to make this survey. We had the schools from our hometown together going house by house to make this survey. 1,300 houses, 12,000 people. And without the collaboration of so many people from the United States and from Mexico, it would not be possible. So let me share this recognition with the brains behind this project, Dr. Alvarado.
Thank you, Sergio, and good evening, everyone. I'm going to be really, really brief. Really, I think, it was a great opportunity for me, and I saw it as, I've heard everyone say, is it the right time? And I think it is the right time. And I think we should all give ourselves an applause for all of you being here today. Really, join me in doing that. And I'll tell you why. Because as someone who works with the community and develops programs, the 2 panels I heard today, many of the experiences, many of the things that we saw today, we learned through some of the processes that we went through. But in reality, it takes leadership, committed leadership. Without leadership, we cannot take the first step forward. And so we need to look at this platform, and I think, and I really want to congratulate the U.S.-Mexican Foundation for creating this leadership initiative, because without this, projects like Juanacatlan Renace cannot surface to the level to where they become recognized, and we look at the prosperity of the results that can occur and will occur. But I just want to really thank Sergio for the opportunity to work with the state of Jalisco and all the partners, but in reality also recognize him because, as I indicated, leadership is key, and Sergio's leadership has been very intense in terms of never giving up, but it comes from his heart with a great deal of passion. Thank you very much for the recognition, and congratulations for today's events.
Felicidades.
Thank you.
Okay, one more, and then we're going to have our keynote speaker. The third recipient, in this case of a $10,000 award, goes to an organization that's close to my heart because I got to visit it last August on that trip that Alfredo Corchado talked about. Alfredo Corchado and Carlos Arce were the ones that reintroduced me to Juárez, Ciudad Juárez. Even though I grew up just across the line in El Paso, I had not been to Juarez for many years when I went back last August, and I got to know Casa Promoción Juvenil, which roughly means the House of Youth Advancement. Casa Promoción Juvenil works in marginalized communities throughout Ciudad Juarez to strengthen youth leadership. Last year, as part of a broader effort with a whole range of partners in coalition, including the International Youth Foundation, most critically, Casa Promoción Juvenil organized a 4-week summer youth camp experience, day camp, something we're very familiar with, but that these youths had not experienced. And this was in particular for 12 to 14-year-old kids in Ciudad Juarez, in marginalized communities, along with a year-round follow-up to that, and with particular focus on those kids that were dropping out between 6th and 7th grade. When the numbers were released by the Mexican Educational Ministry last year, that about 4,000 kids that started 6th grade did not pre-register for 7th grade. Casa Promoción Juvenil, the International Youth Foundation, and other organizations came together and they said, we have to find as many of these kids as possible, get them into summer day camp, and try to get them to stay in school. And that's what they did. Just the year before, for that part that was just run by Casa Promoción Juvenil, was for about 200 youth. This year, some 700 will take part just in those summer day camps that Casa Promoción Juvenil will be taking part in. And in addition, a number of other organizations brings the total numbers up to several thousand. Accepting the award, unfortunately, the very dynamic leader of Casa Promoción Juvenil, Tere Almada, could not be with us. She was unfortunately not allowed by immigration authorities to get into El Paso to take her flight to join us. And this we just found out just yesterday. But we're fortunate, as you've met him before, to have Carlo Arce of the International Youth Foundation on hand to both tell us a little bit more about this project and other projects that the International Youth Foundation is supporting in Ciudad Juarez and throughout Mexico. Carlo.
Well, Tere said she was going to email me her words, and I haven't received the email. But I'm honored on behalf of Tere Almada and Casa Promoción Juvenil to talk very briefly about Casa, about the initiative that we undertook last year, and about some of the future initiatives we'll undertake together with Casa in the future. Casa is one of those groups where if you want to be involved in Ciudad Juarez, it seems like everything takes place through Casa. Casa is involved with a very interesting and dynamic program whereby we have peer-to-peer gang members or ex-gang members going into communities and looking at las pandillas or los grupos de barrio, as they're called in Ciudad Juarez, and seeing that this is not a problem. They have a tremendous amount of social capital in the fabric of their own organizations that we can perhaps work with and see how we can transform this group into a colectivo, and the colectivo get them involved maybe in social change and convert them into an NGO. So that is what Casa does on a day-to-day basis in terms of colonia by colonia, actually block by block, colonia by colonia, every day. That type of innovative work. Tere Almada is an Ashoka Fellow from back in 1998, I believe, and a tremendously dynamic person. And with the International Youth Foundation, we were able to expand a summer camp program that they had going on with beneficiaries of between the ages of 6 and 16. From about 300 kids were attended back in 2009, Camp 2010 with IYF. Actually, the IYF grant developed jointly with the USAID was approved in June of 2010, and by July we had a summer camp, thanks to Tere, with 1,630 kids, out of which 200 were this group of 6th grade, we could call them dropouts, don't like to use that name, but this group of transición, which were the 6th graders who had not registered for secondary school, secundaria. And of the 200, we were able to get about 170 into secundaria and are working with the other 30 to improve their skills to be able to go into secundaria soon enough and follow them. This year, as David mentioned, our objective is 700, and so this recognition and check will come in handy for that program. 700, again, represents less than 20% of the kids that finish sixth grade education this June and will not be registered in August for secondary school. So that's a tremendously sad thing, and there's a lot of explanations for that. But I want to briefly give recollect a conversation I had with Alejandro Villanueva. We were in Puerto Vallarta a few months ago, thanks to the U.S.-Mexico Foundation as well. And I was asking him, why are you not involved in Ciudad Juarez? And he said, well, you know, we have a very integrated program in Chiapas, and we're doing, I'm an admirer of the program they have in Chiapas. It's really an integrated, holistic type of development, community development program, which I admire greatly. But I said, but Juarez really needs you. And I say this because IYF was born out of 21 years ago out of a $60 million grant from Kellogg's. So him as representative of Kellogg's in Mexico and Latin America and the Caribbean, this was, you know, an opportunity to leverage my resources as well in Ciudad Juarez. And he said, you have to look at the statistics in Chiapas. It's educationally, everything, you'll see that the statistics don't lie, and educational achievement in Chiapas is even worse than Ciudad Juarez. And I said, well, have you looked at what the alternatives are for a 12-year-old dropout in Ciudad Juarez vis-a-vis Chiapas? Then you'll realize why you do have to come to Ciudad Juarez. But my cell didn't quite have the fruit that I wanted to, but that is the recognition of the problem that we have in Ciudad Juarez, are the life options of 10, 11, 12-year-olds that are becoming lookouts for organized crime, 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are becoming hired guns. So whatever we can do in terms of safe spaces with the summer camps, with after-school programs, is what we try to initially do with Youth Work Mexico. And thanks to partners like CASA, FECHAC, which is a sister organization of Fundemex, we work very closely with them in the after-school program. And into these safe spaces, IYF would like to integrate a life skills program. And we talked about this briefly this morning in different panels, you know, a recognition of who am I, what is my life plan, what kind of vision for the future do I want to develop, what kind of communication skills do I need, what kind of dispute resolution skills. In the case of Ciudad Juarez, we're talking Aulas para la Paz. These are like modules designed to foment peace, not only dispute resolution, teamwork, all of these life skills. So we'll integrate those into the safe spaces. At the same time, we're working with Manpower and Paso del Norte group in El Paso to do a complete labor market assessment that not only looks at what are the needs of the businesses in Ciudad Juarez, but is also doing a supply analysis in terms of what kind of young people are being produced from the training vocational institutes, be it CEVETIS, CONALEPs, or tertiary education as well, some of the universities. So we'll have a clearer idea where the gaps are in terms of a global competitive framework for the future for not only Ciudad Juarez, but definitely El Paso and Las Cruces as well. So this study will be ready in about a month and a half, and hopefully that'll be the building block for our employability and entrepreneurship component, which we'll have on the ground by the end of the year. So on behalf of TERE, thanks for the recognition. We'll definitely put the money to very good use and be able to report back to you by the end of the year. And as David mentioned, this is not only summer camp for 4 weeks. This is something that CASA will follow up periodically. I believe it's every 2 weeks, not only with the child already in secondary school, but with the family of the child, with the teachers of the child, and follow them throughout the year. Because our objective isn't that they complete first year. It's that they register for second. It's that they become productive citizens in their communities later as well. So thanks very much on behalf of TERE and Casa Promoción.
The check. We need the check. Well, now we're going to introduce our final speaker, and it's very appropriate that the keynote speech of this luncheon and of this conference be in the hands of Dr. Arturo Valenzuela, the Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs. And there's much that I could say about Arturo, because he has not only established himself as one of the premier Latin Americanists and authorities on U.S.-Latin America relations. If you ever studied Latin American studies, you know that he is in the top ranks of the Latin Americanists in that field, and has also obviously served at the highest levels of responsibility of U.S. relations with Latin America, first in the Clinton administration and the National Security Council, and now the position of Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs. But in addition to that, Arturo has been the advisor, the tutor, the guru on foreign policy and U.S.-Latin America relations to Latino leadership, especially national Latino leadership. He served on the board of NCLR, for example, and has had these strong relations with national Latino leaders for years, in addition to, as a professor at Georgetown, forming generations of students of his in the field of Latin American studies and international relations. So it is with great pleasure and a great honor to have Arturo here today. Don Arturo.
Thanks so much, David, for those kind words. And yes, you know, your initiative and your work is extremely dear to my heart as well. I had the enormous privilege when I went into the Clinton administration in 1994, and I mentioned this morning at the breakfast, that I kicked and screamed because as a specialist on the Southern Cone and the countries of South America, I wasn't really sure that I wanted to do Mexico, which was the proposal that I had. You know, you'll be the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Mexico. This is an exciting time. This is 1994. We just had signed NAFTA. You can help negotiate the side agreement, set up the NAD Bank, and do all those other things like that. And I said, I don't really, you know, I don't do Mexico, but, you know, that exquisite logic of bureaucracies, you know, I did Mexico, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I say that sincerely. You know, it just meant it opened up a whole new world, a new country for me. Deep friendships that are still abiding today with Mexicans. And then, as David also suggested, to be able to, after leaving later the White House, to be able to go on the board of NCLR and to be able to you know, work with the community, Latino community in the United States, to see how we can not only improve the situation of our fellow citizens in the United States, but also to begin to empower this community of ours to take a greater role and a greater interest in international affairs. That was something that really, really motivated me. And so for me, it's an enormous privilege to accompany you today. And of course, I'm totally delighted. I want to thank Fabiola Rodriguez Champoli, because she was, you know, our stalwart, you know, champion to try to get this initiative that the Secretary herself wanted to do. This initiative, as you know, began as an idea, as the Secretary herself told you yesterday, about a year ago, when she talked to Secretary Espinosa and said maybe there's some way in which the Mexican-American community could support Mexican communities and civil society in confronting the threats posed by transnational criminal organizations as well as other common challenges. This was kind of her inspiration. I know that there was some doubts, some skepticism, and so on and so forth. But, you know, I am so pleased to be here, because I think that the doubters and the skeptics, and I might have counted myself at that particular point as one of them, you know, I've been proven wrong. I think the moment has come. This is the time for this kind of an initiative. And I'm absolutely, you know, thrilled to be able to share with you this opening moment and this inauguration of this initiative. The Department of State, of course, reached out to Mexican-American leaders, consulted with many of you in this room, and decided that, in fact, this would be a good way to go. And I'm delighted that they were able to partner with the the U.S.-Mexico Foundation and to find a mechanism to try to get this thing on the ground. Those of us in both the public and private sector who have encouraged and watched this effort take shape have great hopes for the initiative and know that through the formal support and efforts of the Mexican-American community, we can achieve a great deal. It's my firm belief that the Mexican-American Leadership Initiative is helping to create a new mechanism to support not only communities in Mexico, but also strengthen Mexican-American communities in the United States, as well as help influence American society's understanding of Mexico and its responses to events there. What's exciting about this is the civil society component. It's the idea of being able to sort of, understand ourselves better as societies, and also to encourage the kinds of changes that we need within our societies. As many immigrant populations in the United States have proven, ethnic communities, as they develop and strengthen their adoptive land, can become strong positive influences in their countries of origin. And this should not be any different for Mexico. By tapping into Mexican-American communities, the Mali will make both communities and both homes strong, more prosperous, more secure for the citizens of both Mexico and the United States. As you know, the U.S.-Mexico relationship is one of our most important bilateral relations in the world. I like to think that it maybe is the most important bilateral relation in the world. At the government-to-government level, we work every day to strengthen our ties and further mutual national interests by promoting a vibrant economic partnership, combating drug trafficking, organized crime, and facilitating the secure flow of people and goods across our shared border. The United States and Mexico are linked by culture, history, economics, as well as social and family ties. These links make our relationship strong and require us to share the responsibility to work together to overcome the challenges that both countries face in order to ensure prosperity and security for all citizens. Security concerns have been at the forefront of our relationship due to the threats we face from transnational criminal organizations. We work closely with the Calderon administration, and through the Mérida Initiative, our relationship has transformed into a robust joint effort to enhance citizen safety in both our countries. Under the Mérida Initiative, we have put into place an effective bilateral implementation structure that has accelerated the delivery of our activities and has contributed directly to gains in the Mexican government's ability to launch large-scale counter-cartel operations. Supporting accountable and transparent institutions that encourage civil society participation and respect for human rights and develop strong and resilient communities is at the core. It's the integral piece of this effort. Our bilateral relationship, however, goes far beyond security, and this is something that I repeat every time that I speak on Mexico, and every time I ask the question, whether I speak in college campuses or whether I'm discussing these issues with diplomats or with audiences more generally. The security concerns are really very, very important, but our relationship is far, far, far denser than that. We have natural and formal links that have existed between our two nations for generations. These natural bonds are the focus of the Mexican-American Leadership Initiative and are true drivers of our solid relationships and our promising future. And you've heard these. This is where I'm beginning to read the sort of standard State Department things that are prepared for me. The United States, Mexico has a thriving economic relationship. The U.S.-Mexico border is one of the busiest, most economically important borders in the world. You know that. You've heard it. 1 million people cross legally every day. Over $1 billion in trade every day. When I first went into the State Department in 1994, I think the bilateral trade was, and correct me if you want, it was something like $50 billion. It hit $400 billion this past year. It's extraordinary what has happened. And if you look at North America as a concept, it's $800 billion in trade. The United States trade to the Western Hemisphere is 23% of its exports to the world. The exports of the United States to the Western Hemisphere is 23%. 37% of the United States investments are to the Western Hemisphere. And of course, Mexico and Canada account for a really significant chunk of that. So this is very important. To support this strong economic relationship, which cuts across all levels of societies and grows more vibrant every day. We must continue to ensure the security of our border region and the free flow of peoples and goods. We're helping to build a 21st century border that will further facilitate trade and legitimate travel of people and goods across our shared border. This is one of the great things about the new technologies that are out there, is that we can think much more creatively about how you, in fact, make a border much more dynamic and but at the same time make it secure, which is such a critical element. As President Obama and Calderon said during President Calderon's visit to Washington last year, and this is comes from their joint declaration, a key component of our global competitiveness is creating a border for the 21st century. We must develop it and manage it in a holistic fashion and in ways that facilitate the secure, efficient, and rapid flow of goods and people to reduce the costs of doing business between our two countries. Both the United States and Mexico benefit from expediting legitimate travel through and between our two countries, especially by those who live in the border region, end quote. Building this 21st century border requires us to rethink outdated concepts of the border as one line separating the two countries. Our shared border is the entire set of activities that flow across. It's the human activities, it's the economic activity, it's the cultural activity that we all know so well. Presidents Obama and Calderon recognize this activity as well as the need to do even more to expedite trade and travel by releasing a declaration on 21st century border management that highlights areas for increased collaboration and created this new high-level interagency binational executive steering committee to oversee border management issues that I was privileged to participate in at the last meeting. The two presidents tasked the executive steering committee to explore new ideas and find ways to implement current initiatives more quickly so that people and economies of both countries can reap the full benefit from both countries' investments in this 21st century border. Together, our countries are working to create an efficient border regime that encourages commerce and economic efficiency while also deterring, of course, the criminal activity that is so abhorrent. Closely linked to this economic activity are the ties between our people, of course. These ties, whether economic, social, cultural, historical, are exceptionally close at all levels. Last year, Americans of all backgrounds joined with Mexicans in celebrating the bicentennial of Mexico's independence and the centennial of the Mexican Revolution, not just in cities with traditionally strong links to Mexico like Los Angeles and San Antonio, but in Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., every place. And it was great fun to participate in this. I just got back, by the way, from Paraguay over the weekend, where I participated in the Paraguayan bicentennial. And you know, it was just an amazing, in fact, Paraguayans told me that it was such an important moment. Paraguay is a country that's going for a very complicated, difficult transition at this particular point. It's one of the countries with the shallowest history of democratic institutions and a lot of conflict and difficulty. But everybody poured out into the streets and at night, late at night, just the entire city of Asunción was out celebrating. And in fact, everybody was commenting. You know, it's our common heritage, it's our common roots. And this is a big deal. And of course, we were able to celebrate that with regard to Mexico last year. Beyond these informal ties, our governments have long history of fostering relations between people and institutions in both countries. Two exchange programs that I thought I'd like to highlight is Jóvenes en Acción and the Fulbright Garcia Robles scholarship programs. Last year, the U.S. Embassy and the State Department joined with the Mexican Secretariat of Public Education and the Mexican private sector to form this new exchange program called Jóvenes en Acción. And I had the opportunity to meet with a group of participants. In fact, Fabiola was with me in Tijuana early this year. And it was one of the most moving experiences that I've had. You know, we went to this little public school, and these young people who had done their trip throughout the United States and had learned leadership skills and things like that were in turn teaching kids in a public school the importance of community work, the importance of solidarity, the importance of leadership, the importance of giving back to the community. And the kids, the Jóvenes en Acción, were so eloquent themselves, but then what really blew me away was when they then turned and asked these, fifth graders, you know, to speak about the experiences and one of the things that they've learned, in turn with the work of the Jóvenes de Acción. They were as eloquent as these 16 and 17-year-olds that we were talking to. And, you know, I just kept thinking, and these are folks, you know, in the lower socioeconomic sectors of the society, you know, and you just are so moved by the power of the human spirit and the dignity of everybody out there. It's a great program. This summer the program has expanded to 65 students who will join this first group to begin forming a cadre of future leaders who will have a better understanding of our two nations through a common desire to help their communities. And much like the founders of Mali, and much like the organizations that you have honored today and supported today, we are convinced that this kind of civil society sort of, you know, working directly with young people is such an important part of this story. COMEXUS, the Mexico-U.S. Commission for Educational and Cultural Exchange, directs the Fulbright Garcia Robles program. Established in 1990 as a bilateral agreement, the Fulbright Garcia Robles is the flagship program in U.S.-Mexico academic exchanges, to which both countries contribute a combined total of $3.5 million each year. And there's a significant contribution on the Mexican part to this program. And since COMEXUS has been established, more than 4,000 Mexican and American students, professors, and English language teachers have benefited from these Fulbright Garcia Robles grants. The United States and the Mexican government recently renewed this agreement, and we hope that this can become even stronger as time goes on. It's significant and symbolic that COMEXUS marked its 20th anniversary as Mexico celebrated the bicentennial. And both of our countries have benefited from advanced studies. And there's one thing that I've learned as an academic, and this is something not only in Mexico, but everywhere and throughout Latin America, you know, leaders are understanding much more that in order to be able to compete in the 21st century, they really need to invest in human capital. And that this is the fundamental thing, you know. And of course, that also means addressing in a critical way also the situation of women and girls, for example, and to make it possible to be able to make it possible for children to really be able to have opportunities. We also, as the Secretary has mentioned so many times, we also need to address the specific challenges that women and girls face. It's not just youth at risk, which is critically important. Youth at risk is critically important when we're looking at this sort of the problems with crime and so on. But in a broader societal context, we really need to look at the panoply of the social fabric as a whole. The U.S.-Mexico bilateral relations has never been stronger, in my view. It's based on historical, economic, and social and personal ties, and a robust, multi-layered set of institutions. And so I congratulate this Mexican-American Leadership Initiative. It's a perfect example of these ties, and I'm convinced that this is a start in some ways of a new set of relationships. I shared at the breakfast this morning that when I first started working on Mexico and with Mexico in 1994, the relationship was really rather testy, you know, and I sort of bristled myself, and I said this morning at what I interpreted to be somewhat of a patronizing sort of view of Mexican Americans on the part of Mexican elites that we were dealing with. And at the same time, perhaps resentments and misunderstandings on this other side of the border. You know, in this period of time, it's just extraordinary, in my view, that we are now beginning to talk at a different level. I'm not going to downplay the sensitivities. We're also dealing with a sovereign nation state, and we need to respect that sovereignty, and that's something that often is not understood in the United States. That is fundamental. But on the basis of this kind of mutual respect and respect of the sovereignty of each other, the notion that we have such profound common bonds, and that our fate is intimately intertwined with the fate of our neighbors, and particularly of Mexico, it's certainly something that is clearer than ever. So I congratulate you on this initiative. I wish you all the best. And on a personal level, since I'm going to go back to the university in the fall, I'd love to, David, to continue to work with you guys on so many of these initiatives and work. Take care. Thank you very much.
We didn't quite script this part, but I just want to take a moment. I know you took time from your very, very busy schedules. We really want to thank you very, very much for attending, participating on your tables, as a card, how you can be involved, how you can support us financially. We are really feeling a sense of momentum, so we will be calling on all of you. We want your ideas. We want your engagement. We want to expand this so that next year it'll be at least twice as large. I'd go for 3 times as large. So thank you very, very much. David?
Thank you, Maria. I just wanted to add to that I think yesterday and today we've taken both some baby steps and a giant leap. The baby steps are the modest recognitions and awards that we were able to give today, even as important as it is to begin introducing these organizations and these projects that are going on that are worthy of support, and they're examples. There are many, many more to be supported. The giant leap is having convened the people that came yesterday and today, and having brought these people, all of you, together is an enormous step forward, and publicly launching this initiative. If you stick with us, this is not a one-off event. It's not just an event. It's going to take a sustained commitment in order to make a difference. So please, I join Maria in asking you to leave us your information. Let us be in touch with you. Let us know how you might be willing to be involved with us. Thank you very much.